Hello, in this video I will walk the user through what is the concept of a smart tag and how the user can add smart tags to their smart trees and how these smart tags are used essentially as a hashtag or an identifier of what these smart trees really are in terms of their content. So you could imagine in these trees or libraries, you would like to be able to say, okay, what trees are materials, or what trees is a process, or what tree is a piece of equipment. So you can create these smart tags, and these smart tags are easy find, easy pull, and easy to drag into your active tree if you want to reference those other trees. So as I mentioned before, the smart tag concept is similar to a hashtag in that the client will sift through all your smart trees and identify all of the smart tags that you have available to you. These smart tags are also form relationships with one another. For instance, there are smart tags in here for units, and there are smart tags for properties. And what the software will do is connect those two. And if you have a model tree, it will pull those properties and their associated units into the active model. And there is another video that actually goes through that particular exercise. But in this video, I will just talk about the smart tag themselves. So when you download the templates that are provided, these templates are predefined having their own smart tag. So if you look at this particular window right here, you can expand. There's a little expansion option here. And this column right here identifies smart tags that have been assigned to all of these various smart trees. So for example, I have a bunch of smart tags to define fibers. It is defined as both a material and a fiber. You have smart tags for metals, polymers, core materials, and you also have smart tags for models. You have smart tags for properties and units. The properties and unit smart tags are probably the most important because throughout all your trees you're going to be using these units and you're going to be referencing these properties. And so what the software does is it links those together. To better describe what this looks like, I have a little schematic here for a presentation. So we have what's called property smart trees, and this smart tree is defined as a property. We also, as I mentioned, have a unit smart tree. So what this unit smart tree will do, it will sift through all your property smart trees and identify the fact that there's a relationship between properties and units. A lot of properties have units. So the client will say it will identify this as a unit if it finds it in this template. So what it really is doing is it's cataloging the units in the property smart tree with the unit tree itself. Materials have properties. So what the material smart tree will do is it will sift through the properties and associated units and identify that this is a property and this has units in this material. This feeds forward into other trees. So for instance, you may have a number of materials in your catalog or your repo or your library, and you may want to use these material properties in a model, for instance. And another tutorial will walk through that operation for some simple composite analyses. So it basically feeds forward. So you have a model that utilizes materials. You have a material that has properties. You have properties that have units. And all you need to do is have this information in one library, and the model will find and populate the properties, the values, and the units in your model. Or maybe it's an ASTM standard, or even a process tree. But the one commonality here is that all of these relationships are defined through smart tags. So when you attach a property to one of your trees, it becomes a property tree, and it will sift through that property tree for data and feed that data into materials and into models. So in order to make this connectivity easier, what I've done is I have provided a variety of different materials and different models that use these materials and different properties and units. So let's have a look at what a unit smart tree might look like. If you click on it here, and I'm just going to drag it into the work area, this unit tree is pretty straightforward. It's basically a bunch of selection elements, and in those selections you have data. And this data might be, in this case, time, frequency, cost, density, force. And so I've filled out an example of these units. You can go in here and add your own, and once you save them, that unit is then part of your library, and you can utilize that anywhere in other trees. So that's what a unit tree looks like. So let's just clear that out. Then, as I mentioned, we have a property tree. So in the property, you can see here we have these units that are in here, but we also have a property. And the property typically has a value and it has a unit. In some instances it may not have a unit, but for the most part, most of these properties have units. So this is basically, these trees are provided to the user. There's no data in here, but really what it is a schema that describes what are properties and what are units. So you can see down here. So the software, the client will manage all this information, and you will see the power of this when you actually start using these properties in materials and using those materials in models. And as I mentioned before, you can extend this. You can build, add more units if you wish. You can add more properties. I have examples here, but you can keep adding more and more depending on what you'd like to have in there. And the software will establish a relationship between all of these properties based on their units into the other trees that you're going to build. So how do you add and edit smart tags? Well, it's fairly simple. You can just click on the smart tag, and what you'll see here is if you click on an object in your tree, you will see its associated smart tags, and you can actually add or cut or copy tags from any of these trees into your own. So for example, I have some generic smart tags. So if I want to find or utilize these trees, I would just look for the generic term and I can use them in other trees. If I want to add more features to this, say this particular material right here, I would like to make that a material. I can just say I'm going to add a material smart tag to that particular material, for instance. I may want to cut that information out. This is a prepreg. I may want to just add a prepreg smart tag. And what it does then is it establishes a relationship between this material and maybe a model that might need to use it. So this is the smart tag principle here, and as I said, it establishes these relationships in the back end. You don't have to worry about this, but what it does is these tags basically connect all these trees together and makes it easy for somebody to utilize a model and basically pull material data, pull the properties from that material data, and make sure that you're actually referencing the units for those particular materials. In another video, I will exercise a model where we see this whole entire process workflow in operation. Thank you.